Medieval period of Indian history was marked by a fusion of numerous cultural streams, new religious ideas and beliefs, along with the emergence of religious teachers who emphasized intense devotion to God. As we saw in the earlier chapter, Hinduism assimilated many tribal groups into its fold. New mythologies, cults and religious rituals resulting from the symbolic relations between the Hindus and the tribal groups led to the emergence of Puranic Hinduism. In fact, the incorporation of local deities and cults reflects the assimilative character of Puranic Hinduism. The Mahapuranas, from which this strand of Hinduism derives its name, embody the various elements of Puranic Hinduism. The Bhakti movement and Sufism were the two other popular religious movements that gained in importance during this period. These new ideas affected the religious ideologies, beliefs, rituals, and cults of Hinduism and Islam. The Bhakti movement, the term Bhakt, derived from the Sanskrit word bhaj, refers to devotion to a supreme entity with exceptional power or knowledge. Any mediation between the worshipper and God by priests was excluded. The propagation of the Bhakti ideology by saints as hymns or couplets included social participation, religious equality, and liberal ideas. The origin of the Bhakti movement can be traced back to the Brahmanical and Buddhist traditions of ancient India. Ancient texts like the Upanishads, Vedas, and the Bhagavad Gita speak of devotion to one supreme God. The socio-economic milieu of the period led to the emergence of the Bhakti movement. The increase in demand for manufactured goods resulted in more migration of traders, craftspeople, peasants, and artisans to cities. These artisans were attracted to the Bhakti movement due to its assimilative character. Rejection of the caste system and complex rituals added to the popularity of this movement. The poetic compositions by saints like Kabir, Guru Nanak, Tulsidas, or Chaitanya also questioned the oppression of the common people by local kings and the higher caste. The Bhakti movement surfaced in South India and was disseminated by the Alvars and the Nayanars. They disregarded religious austerities and preached personal devotion to God as a route to salvation. The Alvars were devotees of Vishnu or Vaishnavites, while the Nayanars were devotees of Shiva or Shaivites. A preacher of the Bhakti movement in South India could belong to any caste. Similarly, people from any caste could join the order. There were women saints too. They went from one place to another composing exquisite poems in praise of deities enshrined in the villages and set them to music. These saints were popular with the masses because they preached in local languages such as Tamil, Kannada, and Telugu. Their teachings were simple and easy. Adi Shankaracharya, born into a poor yet pious Brahmin family in Kerala, Shankaracharya is remembered as one of the first Hindu thinkers who conducted a re-examination and reformation of the Vedic philosophy. As a young boy, he showed a high degree of scholarship by mastering the 4 Vedas. His teachings laid stress on the significance of Upanishadic knowledge in the attainment of God. Thus, his philosophy is also known as Vedanta. He laid the foundation of 4 mathas in monastic centers at Sringeri, Karnataka, Dwarka, Gujarat, Puri, Odisha, and Jyotirmad, Uttarakhand, with the aim of propagating his philosophy. Ramanuja. The Vaishnava saint Ramanuja, born in Tamil Nadu in the 11th century, was one of the key proponents of Bhakti philosophy. He believed in the equality of all human beings and spoke against the practice of forbidding lower castes entry into temples. Ramanuja preached the doctrine of Vishishtadvaita or qualified oneness, that the soul, even when united with the Supreme God, remained distinct. Madhvacharya. Born in the village of Udupi in Karnataka, Madhvacharya chose the path of renunciation and monastic life at a young age. He established 8 mathas to further develop and preach his philosophy. According to him, a person's caste was contingent upon his or her nature and not upon birth into a particular family. He also taught that devotion to God was of prime importance in one's life. The Veerashaivas, the Shaivite saints who advocated monasticism and rejected the caste system and the authority of the Vedas, were known as the Veerashaivas or the Lingayats. Basavanna, a social reformer, was the founder of this religion, and people of varied social backgrounds, as well as women, were included within the fold of the religion. The saints of Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, there were a number of Bhakti saints who contributed to the spread of this movement. The most important were Naneshwar, Namadev, Eknath, Sakkubai, and Tukaram. They were the worshippers of Lord Vittala, Vishnu. Naneshwar wrote Naneshwari, a Marathi commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. Namadev and Tukaram were known for their devotional poems. The Marathi poet saints focused on the notion of a personal God residing in the hearts of all people. They rejected all forms of ritualism and social differences based on birth. They also rejected the idea of renunciation and preferred to live with their families, earning their livelihood. They emphasized the new humanist idea of sharing one another's pain. The saints of North India. The Bhakti movement became popular in northern India by the 15th and 16th centuries. Movements like the Nathapanthis, which challenged the caste system and the superiority of the Brahmins, had many followers. Another interesting feature of the Bhakti movement in the north was the emphasis on syncretism. The arrival of Islam and Sufism, with its ideas on equality and brotherhood, influenced Bhakti saints of the north. In fact, many Bhakti and Sufi saints merged elements from both Hinduism and Islam and had followers belonging to both religions. Many Bhakti saints of North India preached the Nirguna form of worship. For instance, Kabir and Guru Nanak rejected all orthodox religions, criticized the existing social order, and made a strong plea for Hindu-Muslim unity. Ramanand. Popular Bhakti saint Ramanand was a follower of Ramanuja. He resided in Banaras. He substituted the worship of Rama in place of Vishnu, disregarded the ban on people of different castes cooking or eating their meals together, and spread his doctrine of Bhakti to all the four Varnas. Ravidas, a cobbler, Kabir, a weaver, Sena, a barber, and Sadhana, a butcher, were amongst his disciples. Ravidas. A cobbler by caste, Ravidas was a 15th century socio-religious reformer, humanist, poet, and spiritual thinker. He believed that one's actions rather than birth distinguished him from others. He vehemently opposed the inhuman practice of untouchability and advocated that God was accessible to everyone. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a Vaishnava saint, a native of Bengal. He was a devotee of Radha and Krishna and a social reformer. He laid stress on universal love as the means to have a union with God and popularized the practice of kirtan, a new form of devotional singing in chorus. It involved the musical rendition of the names of Hare Krishna. Srimanta Sankardeva. Srimanta Sankardeva was a famous Bhakti saint from Assam. Around the 16th century, he founded the religious sect known as Mahapurusya Dharma. He opposed the caste system and stressed on social synthesis. His verses about the glory of Lord Krishna continue to be popular even today. The Kirtana Ghosha is his most renowned work. Every verse he wrote was a reflection of the concept of bhakti, composed in extremely simple language. The Sikh Gurus. The Sikhs are the disciples of their 10 Gurus. Guru Nanak, 1469 to 1539 CE, was the first, and Guru Gobind Singh, 1666 to 1708 CE, was the last Guru. Guru Gobind Singh is credited with the formation of the Khalsa, pure, in 1699. It was a disciplined brotherhood of the members of the community who were required to carry weapons and protect their faith and community wherever necessary. Every member of the Khalsa had to give 5 distinctive things on his person: Kanga, comb; Kesh, long hair; Kara, iron bangle; Kacha, a pair of shorts; and Kirpan, sword or dagger. The teachings of Guru Nanak and additional hymns of subsequent gurus were compiled by Guru Arjan Dev. These hymns and teachings are preserved in the Adi Granth known as the Guru Granth Sahib, the holy book of the Sikhs. Women Bhakti saints. The Bhakti movement saw an influx of women saints who expressed their devotion and love for God through the medium of bhajans. In the process, it gave women the space to express their opinions. Akka Mahadevi and Andal were 2 important women saints of South India. Akka Mahadevi was a Virashative saint famous for her vachanas and her complete rejection of the material world to surrender herself to Shiva. Andal was the only female Alvar saint from Tamil Nadu. She is credited with the great Tamil work Tirupavai and Nachayar Tirumozi in honor of Vishnu. Sant Janabai, 1298 to 1305 CE, was a Marathi poet saint. Born into a low-caste Shudra family, she was a great devotee of Lord Vitthala and Pandharpur, looking upon him as her friend and constant companion who guided her in life. Another female Bhakti saint, Ganga Sati, wrote in Gujarati. She addressed her bhajans to Panabai, her daughter-in-law, whom she wished would follow the path of Bhakti. The poet Sant Ratanbai also wrote Bhakti poetry and worked on the spinning wheel. One of the most famous female poet saints was Mirabai, 1498 to 1565 CE. Although she was married to the Rana of Mewar, her life was dedicated to the worship of Lord Krishna. Her songs composed to simple rhythms with a repeated refrain are collected in the Padav. The Sufi movement. The term Islam means submission to the will of God. It was founded in Arabia in the 7th century by Prophet Muhammad. A fine piece of literature in the Arabic language, the Quran comprises prayers, hymns and stories relating to the life and teachings of the Prophet. As per the instructions given in the Quran, the Muslims pray 5 times a day, facing Mecca. Their prayers are referred to as namaz. They fast from dawn to dusk during the month of Ramzan, which is known as Roza. A visit to Mecca, the birthplace of Prophet Muhammad, at least once during a Muslim's lifetime, is known as Hajj. A certain amount of money to be set aside for the purpose of charity is zakat. The arrival of Islam in India in the early medieval period had been recorded by travelers such as Al-Biruni. Arab Islamic travelers and traders began to arrive on the western coast of India from the 8th century onwards. The invasion of the Afghans, Turks and Mongols from the northwest in the 11th century led to a further increase in the population of the Muslims. Origin and spread of Sufism. Sufism, the mystical movement in Islam, emerged in the Middle East in the 8th century. The ostentatious display of wealth and degeneration of morals among Muslims led to the emergence of this movement. A large number of Sufis from Central Asia settled down in India from the 11th century onwards. The establishment of the Delhi Sultanate and several major Sufi centers across the subcontinent gave an impetus to the Sufi movement in India. The linguistic origins of the word Sufi may be traced to either Safa, which means purity, or Suf, which refers the coarse woolen garments worn by the Sufi mystics. Sufism is a common term given to Islamic mysticism, the belief that one can become united with God through prayers and meditation, and by living a simple and austere life. Sufi philosophy was basically Islamic, although it included new ideas and religious practices such as penance. Sufis often rejected the elaborate rituals and codes of behavior. They simplified rituals of worship into collective prayers. They were deeply religious and led a simple life, stressing self-discipline. Sufis believed that the heart could be trained to look at the world in a different way. They developed elaborate methods of training using zikr, chanting of a name, contemplation, singing, Musical recitations were called sama, dancing, discussion of parables, and breath control under the guidance of a master or peer who was the main religious teacher. The devotional songs of Sufis or the Qawwali continued to be extremely popular. The disciple was called murid, and both the peer and his disciples lived together in khanqahs that started as a kind of rest house for travelers but came to resemble a monastic establishment. When the head of a khanqah died, his grave or dargah became a pilgrim center. The peer chose one of his disciples as his successor to carry on his work. The succession of peers was known as silsilas or religious orders, each following a slightly different method of instruction and ritual practice. The main Sufi religious orders in India were Chishti, Suravardi, and Naqshbandi. The Chishti silsila was one of the most influential orders. Some of the important peers during the medieval period were Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti of Ajmer, Qutubuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki of Delhi, Baba Farid of Punjab, Khwaja Nizamuddin Aulia of Delhi, and Banda Nawaz Kesudaraz of Gulbarga. Sufis mixed freely with the people of the lower classes, including Hindus. Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti, who resided in Ajmer, is remembered as a great Sufi saint. He founded the Chishti order. His mausoleum or dargah at Ajmer is a place of pilgrimage. Every year, thousands of people from different faiths visit his dargah during the annual celebration called the Urs. They offer a chadar and seek his blessing.